Hey guys, so we're going to be building with arrays. We spent a lot of time making arrays with our counters. Remember, an array is just an organized model of a multiplication problem. We're arranging things in equal groups, equal rows and columns, and it typically looks really neat, and it makes it so that we can skip count really easily, which we remember is the whole point of multiplication, those faster skip counts. Go ahead and title the next blank page in your math notebook, Building with Arrays. And if you need to pause the video, you can do that. Alright, so there are two models of multiplication that I know that we have talked about. So I want you to split your paper in half. And on one half, we're going to write circles and dots. And on the other half, we're going to write an array. Both of these models will show the same thing. They will show the same kind of equation, but they do it in slightly different ways. So, if I'm writing, you are writing. Let's pretend we're going to show the model 4 groups of 3. If I'm doing this in the circles and dots strategy, my first factor in my problem says 4. Remember, that means 4 groups. My circles in the circles and dots strategy represent my groups. So I'm going to draw my 4 big circles. Four groups of 3. That of 3 part of my equation right here tells me that's how many dots are going inside each circle. Now, circles and dots, you can put dots every single time. However, a lot of you have found that sometimes writing all those dots takes forever. So if you just want to put the number in, that's okay too. And I'll still call that the circles and dots strategy, even though it's kind of like the circles and numbers. Arrays are going to give us the same kind of information, but they're going to be organized a little bit differently. So that first number, 4 groups of, that is going to represent my rows. So when I'm building my array, I'm going to start my rows. Rows go across. Now I'm going to build 4 rows like this. Now you're probably saying, Miss Miller, I thought you said across, not stacked. I'm getting ready. My rows are getting ready to go across. So I have 4 spaces ready to go for my rows. The second number in my equation represents my columns. Columns go up and down. So I need to have 3 columns. I already have 1 column made. When I got ready to make my rows, I ended up making 1 of my 3 columns. So I'm going to go ahead and finish by putting in the other 3. So now I have 3 columns, 4 rows with 3 columns. Again, if I were to skip count or add up or count by ones or however I want to count all my dots, I would still end up with the same product, the same answer to my multiplication equation, which would be 12. Okay, so again, we just talked about how to build an array. We're going to do that again. 4 groups of 7. That first one, 4 groups. I need to build my rows. Again, I know I've stacked them, but what I'm doing is I'm actually giving them a space to go out. So I will have 4 rows. Now, the last half of 7 tells me how many columns I need to have. Remember, I've already made 1 column. So I'm adding on 6 more columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. However you want to organize them. Notice, however, all of my dots are still in neat rows and columns. They're not all over the place. I'm taking my time to make sure they're in order. And the reason I'm doing that is because if my dots can stay in order, it makes it a lot easier for my brain to skip count. We can then see I now have 4 rows then I have 7 columns. Oops. Then I can use any strategy from here. I can skip count, I can count them all by ones, I can do whatever strategy I would like to come up with the product for my answer to my multiplication equation, which 4 groups of 7 is going to look like this, and then 4 groups of 7 is equal to 28. Alright, so we're going to have some practice naming the arrays now. So on the next blank page in your notebook, you're actually not going to write any of this. I just want you to pay attention to what we're doing. So if I look at my array with my dots, I'm going to give an equation that matches that picture. Well, I can see, change my colors a little bit, I can see that I have 4 rows. 4 rows are my groups. So I'm going to start my equation with 4 groups of, and then I have 3 columns. I'll change my color again so you can really see what I'm talking about. So I have 4 groups of 3. 4 groups of 3, I can skip count or count individually, doesn't matter. I will still get 12. I would like you to draw the triangle array in your notebook somewhere. If you have room on the last page we're working on, that's fine. If you want to go to the next page, that's fine. And I want you to draw out exactly how we figure out what math equation goes with this picture. So go ahead and pause the video, go ahead and draw them out. And now we're going to show our rows. So go ahead and draw some arrows saying, here are all my rows, which means 6, oh, not 6, holy moly, just kidding, 3 groups of, and then I want you to circle your columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 groups of 5, and then I want you to use some kind of skip counting method or count them all individually and come up with the product. Once you've done that, you can continue on your learning path.